The history of African names and their origins is a fascinating subject, deeply rooted in the continent's rich cultural and historical tapestry. This overview will help understand the derivation and meaning behind the names of various African countries, reflecting the influence of indigenous cultures, colonial histories, and geographic features. Algeria. The name Algeria is derived from the name of its capital city, Algiers. The name Algiers comes from the Arabic Al-Jazair, Ligier, which means the islands, referring to the 4 islands that once lay off the city's coast. The modern nation-state of Algeria was established in 1962, following its independence from French colonial rule. Angola. The name Angola comes from the title Nangola, which was used by the rulers of the Ndongo kingdom in the region. The Portuguese explorers and colonialists adopted the term. The name was adopted during Portuguese colonial rule in the 16th century, but Angola became an independent nation in 1975. Benin. The country is named after the Bight of Benin, a bay on the Atlantic coast. The name was chosen post-independence to reflect the historical Benin Empire, which was located in modern-day Nigeria. The country changed its name from Dahomey to Benin in 1975. Botswana, a name that means land of the Swana, reflects the identity of the dominant ethnic group in the country. This name was selected by the leaders of the independence movement, marking a new era when Botswana adopted this name upon gaining independence in 1966. Burkina Faso, translating to Land of Honest Men in the Mossi and Dioula languages, embodies the spirit of its people. This new name was coined by President Thomas Sankara, who aimed to shed the colonial name Upper Volta. The transformation was complete in 1984, symbolizing a new chapter in the nation's history. The name Burundi derives from the local Rundi language, a name that has stood the test of time, predating colonialism. It has been used by the local population for centuries, representing a deep-rooted identity that was retained when the country achieved independence in 1962. The name Cape Verde originates from the Cap Verde Peninsula in Senegal, a name bestowed by Portuguese explorers. This name, chosen in the 15th century, carried forward to 1975, when Cape Verde gained independence, maintaining its historical ties through its name.
The name Cameroon originates from the Portuguese word Rio dos Camaros, which translates to River of Prawns. This name was inspired by the Wouri River, known for its abundant prawn population. Portuguese explorers in the 15th century were the first to use this name, and it has stuck ever since. Cameroon then transitioned from a name on a map to the title of an independent state in 1960. The Central African Republic was named for its geographical position at the heart of the continent. The name was chosen by the leaders of the independence movement, reflecting a straightforward, yet profound identification with its central location in Africa. This significant naming occurred when the country declared its independence from France in 1960. The name Chad is derived from Lake Chad, which itself comes from the Kanuri word Zad, meaning lake or large body of water. This name was adopted by French colonizers in the late 19th century. The region known as Chad eventually gained its independence in 1960, maintaining the name that had been used by locals and colonizers alike. The name Comoros is taken from the Arabic Juzur al-Qamar, meaning islands of the moon. This evocative name was given by Arabic-speaking traders who were struck by the archipelago's serene beauty under the moonlight. The name has been in use since medieval times, and it was officially adopted when Comoros gained independence in 1975. The name Democratic Republic of the Congo is derived from the mighty Congo River, which meanders through the vast landscapes of the country. It was European explorers who, upon encountering the impressive Kingdom of Congo, adopted the name for the region. The name has been in use since the late 19th century, marking its significance long before the country celebrated its independence in 1960. Similarly, the Republic of the Congo shares its name with the Congo River, a testament to the river's significant influence over the region. Like its neighbor, this name was also chosen by European explorers who were mapping the continent during the late 19th century. The Republic of the Congo has proudly used this name since then, achieving its own independence in the pivotal year of 1960. The name Djibouti is believed to be derived from the Afar word Gabuti, a term which translates to plate, possibly referring to the geographic features of the area. It was the local Afar and Somali populations who named the region, a name that has endured through the centuries. Djibouti stepped into independence in the year 1977, embracing its unique heritage and identity. The name Egypt is derived from the Greek Aegyptos, which itself originates from the ancient Egyptian Hut Ka-Ptah, meaning the house of the spirit of Ptah. This name was given by the ancient Greeks. The name has ancient origins, but it was in 1953 that modern Egypt emerged as an independent republic. Equatorial Guinea was named for its geographic location near the equator and the Gulf of Guinea. This name was chosen by the Spanish colonizers. The name was officially adopted during the Spanish colonial rule in the 18th century, and the country achieved independence in 1968. The name Eritrea is derived from the Greek word Erythraia, which refers to the Red Sea. Italian colonizers adopted this name in the 19th century. The name has been in use since the period of Italian colonization, with Eritrea finally gaining its independence in 1993. Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, was named after King Mswati II. It was the Swazi people who named their country during the reign of Mswati II in the 19th century. The country officially changed its name to Eswatini in 2018. Ethiopia's name comes from the Greek Aethiopia, meaning land of burnt faces. It was the ancient Greeks who named it so. The name has ancient origins, and the modern state of Ethiopia has been using this name since ancient times. Gabon's name is derived from gabao, a Portuguese word for cloak, which refers to the shape of the Como River estuary. It was the Portuguese explorers in the 15th century who named it. Gabon retained its name upon gaining independence in 1960.
The name Gambia is derived from the Gambia River, a significant waterway that has shaped the country's geography and history. It was the Portuguese explorers who first named it in the 15th century. The name has stood the test of time, with Gambia eventually gaining its independence in 1965. The name Ghana harks back to the ancient Ghana Empire, which intriguingly was not located within the modern borders of the country. It was Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, who chose this name upon the country's declaration of independence in 1957, seeking to inspire a sense of unity and continuity. The name Guinea comes from the Berber word Aguinau, meaning black. This term was introduced by Portuguese explorers in the 15th century. The name has persisted through the centuries, with Guinea celebrating its independence in 1958. Guinea-Bissau was named after its capital city, Bissau, to distinguish it from its neighbor, Guinea. This specific designation was decided by Portuguese colonizers. The name was officially adopted when the country achieved independence in 1973. The Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire, was named for the large quantities of ivory that were traded in the region. This name was given by French traders and colonizers. It has been in use since the 15th century, though the country achieved independence in 1960. The name Kenya originates from Mount Kenya, which the Kikuyu people call Kere Nyaga, meaning Mountain of Whiteness. This name was adopted during the period of British colonial rule. Kenya gained its independence in 1963. Lesotho means land of the Sotho people. This name was given by the Basotho people themselves and was adopted when the country declared independence in 1966. The name Liberia stems from the Latin word liber, meaning free. This name was chosen by the American Colonization Society to reflect the country's foundation by freed American slaves in 1822, who declared independence in 1847. Libya's name is derived from Libu, the name of an ancient Berber tribe. The ancient Greeks and Romans were the first to use this name. The modern nation of Libya adopted this name upon gaining independence in 1951. The name Madagascar stems from the Portuguese Madagascar, a corruption of Madagascar, a name used by the explorer Marco Polo. It was the Portuguese explorers who introduced this name, and it has been in use since the 16th century. Madagascar proudly gained its independence in 1960. The name Malawi is derived from the Maravi Kingdom, which intriguingly means flaming waters or reflections of the sun. This evocative name was chosen by the local inhabitants themselves. Malawi embraced this name upon its independence in 1964. Mali was named after the historical Mali Empire, a name chosen by the leaders of the independence movement. This significant name was officially adopted when Mali declared its independence in 1960. Mauritania was named after the ancient Berber kingdom of Mauritania. This name was chosen by the French colonizers during their colonial rule. Mauritania then took this name forward, gaining independence in 1960. Mauritius, a picturesque island in the Indian Ocean, carries a name bestowed upon it by Dutch explorers in the early 17th century. Named after Prince Maurice of Nassau, this moniker was first used in 1598. Remarkably, Mauritius retained this name when it achieved independence in 1968. The name Morocco is derived from Marrakesh, the historical capital, which itself originates from the Berber phrase Mur Akush, meaning land of God. The name was adopted by Europeans and has been in use since the medieval period. Modern Morocco embraced this heritage when it gained independence in 1956. Mozambique, a name that resonates with the echoes of its past, was named after the island of Mozambique. This island got its name from the Arab trader Musa bin Beek, who was among its earlier visitors. Portuguese explorers who arrived in the 16th century adopted the name. Mozambique proudly carried this name forward, gaining independence in 1975. Namibia, a country characterized by the vast expanse of the Namib Desert, derives its name from this very desert. The name was thoughtfully chosen by the leaders of the independence movement to reflect the country's natural heritage. Namibia proudly adopted this name when it gained independence in 1990. The name Niger originates from the Niger River. It was named by European explorers and has been in use since the 19th century. Niger gained its independence in 1960. Similarly, Nigeria was also named after the Niger River. The name was first coined by British journalist Flora Shaw, who later became Lady Lugard. This name has been in use since the late 19th century, with Nigeria gaining independence in 1960. The name Rwanda is derived from the local Kinyarwanda language. It's a name that predates colonialism and has been used by the local population for centuries. Rwanda retained this indigenous name upon gaining independence in 1962. The enchanting islands of São Tomé and Príncipe were named after Saint Thomas, or São Tomé, and the Prince of Portugal, known as Príncipe. The names were bestowed by Portuguese explorers back in the 15th century. This beautiful country would eventually embrace its independence in the year 1975. The name Senegal is believed to stem from the Wolof phrase Sunu Gal, which means our boat, or it could possibly originate from the Zanaga Berbers. It was European explorers who first used the name, starting in the 15th century. Senegal proudly achieved its independence in 1960. The enchanting islands of Seychelles owe their name to Jean Moreau de Seychelles, a French finance minister. It was the French colonizers who named it during the 18th century. Seychelles cherished its new beginning by gaining independence in 1976. Sierra Leone's name, meaning Lion Mountains, comes from the Portuguese phrase Serra Leoa. This name was given by the Portuguese explorer Pedro de Sintra back in 1462. The country embraced its autonomy in 1961. Somalia, a name derived from the indigenous Somali people, has been used by its inhabitants for centuries. This proud nation retained its long-standing name when it achieved independence in 1960. South Africa's name straightforwardly reflects its geographical stance at the southern tip of Africa. British colonizers were the ones to officially use the name, starting from the formation of the Union of South Africa in 1910. The Republic of South Africa was then established in 1961. This overview provides a comprehensive look at how each African country got its name, who named it, and when it was named. Name origin, named for its location in the southern part of Sudan. Who named it? The name was chosen by the leaders of the independence movement. Year South Sudan adopted this name upon gaining independence in 2011. Name origin, derived from the Arabic Balad al-Sudan, land of the blacks. Who named it? Arab traders. Year. The name has been in use since medieval times, with modern Sudan gaining independence in 1956. Name origin, a combination of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Who named it? The name was coined following the union of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Year. The name was adopted in 1964 when the two states merged. The name Togo is derived from the U words to, meaning water, and go, meaning shore, essentially translating to shore by the water. This name, reflecting the country's geographic features, was used by local inhabitants. The name has been in use since pre-colonial times, with Togo finally gaining independence in 1960. The name Tunisia is derived from its capital city, Tunis. This name was originally used by ancient Berbers and later adopted by Arab settlers. The name has ancient origins, with the modern state of Tunisia gaining independence in 1956. Uganda's name is derived from the Buganda Kingdom, encapsulating a significant part of its pre-colonial history. It was the British colonizers who named it during their rule. This name was officially adopted before Uganda gained independence in 1962. The name Zambia comes from the majestic Zambezi River. This name was thoughtfully chosen by the leaders of the independence movement, symbolizing a new era. Zambia proudly adopted this name in 1964, marking its independence. Zimbabwe's name has a poetic origin, derived from the Shona term Zimbabwe, meaning houses of stone, a nod to the ancient Great Zimbabwe ruins. This name was chosen by the leaders of the independence movement and was officially adopted in 1980 as the country emerged from British colonial rule. The stories behind these names reflect a rich tapestry of indigenous heritage, colonial history, and post-independence identity formation, weaving together the diverse strands that form the vibrant continent of Africa.